The only ceiling you create is the one that you create for yourself. Tear out the hammer and bust that baby open. There's thousands, tens of thousands of other people that's out there grinding while you're waiting for it to knock. They're taking it. Ceiling, we're not doing that. No ceilings. We're not doing that.
Welcome to the UMGC podcast, Unstoppable Stories, with your host, Lauren Cardillo.
Today, I'm joined by Erika Lane, Baltimore native, Texas transplant, who's worked for some pretty large corporations in the U.S. in human resources. Welcome today, Erika.
Thank you. How are you today, Lauren?
I am good, ready to go, ready to chat with you.
Good.
I loved talking with you at Grad Walk when you graduated, so looking forward to this.
Thank you. Glad to be
So
here.
your resume includes some big players like, Wawa, American Airlines, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If a 15-year-old you saw that today, what would she think? I mean, that's a, huge leap.
Oh, wow. So 15-year-old me, I was actually a mom at 15. So she would be very proud, very excited, and maybe a little shocked. We finally did it. We made it. We got past a lot of things that people didn't think we were going to get past. So ultimately, she'd be proud for sure.
What were some of those things that people might think you couldn't have gotten past?
Well, like I said, I was a mom at 15. So I have 7 children total, but I was a mom at 15. I left high school, was living in East Baltimore, which was not the best place to live at the time. And I wasn't raised by my parents. I was raised by my grandparents. So I think now, in a less PC society, that would be called a disadvantaged background. So all of the hurdles that come with, being what folks would call being disadvantaged. But I'm not big on labels. So I did not allow myself to be labeled. And I also didn't allow myself to fall into, what those labels meant and how they were defined. So being a teen mom instantly meant, you're going to be on welfare forever. You're never going to make it out of the city. You're not going to be much more than what you are right now. And there was just something that was innately in me that decided very early on that was not going to be the Erika brand, in spite of everything else that took place in my life. So, yeah.
How did your grandparents help that along? Because they could have labeled you, right?
Oh, yeah,
They didn't.
absolutely. Absolutely. If you knew anything about the Venable family, you would know Lucille Venable did not play. So not only did you have to show up, you had to look good while doing it. So there was not, any room whatsoever for not being perseverant, for playing the victim. It just literally was not an option. And some of the things that I remember about, just the Lucille isms, as I like to call them, is, you could spend that energy complaining and talking about what you can't do, or you could spend that energy grinding, getting your hustle on and figuring out how you can do it. And that still, resonates with me today. Even when I have my moments like, I'm about to just throw in the towel, go move to another country, retire early. My grandmother's voice is there like, get it together, put the big girl pants on and figure out how you're going to navigate this. And those lessons I've given to my children. And even now, like my oldest grandson, I hear him saying some of that stuff too. So I think that's going to be a part of the family legacy at this point.
It's a great family legacy.
Oh, yeah.
So you get your GED at 17.
Yep.
And then you get your first job, I believe in insurance, right?
Yeah, it was for a third-party administrator. So I'll never forget the gentleman who hired me. He was the CEO. His name was Lou Berger. And he took a chance on me. I did not have any experience. I never worked like, how most teenagers work at McDonald's, work at Burger King, whatever. Never had a job in retail or at a fast food restaurant. So this was literally my first gig. So I started in customer service, really listening to customer issues, doing customer resolution. So it kind of taught me a little bit of emotional intelligence early on because I was younger. Somebody's yelling at me, I want to yell back. Obviously, that's not what you could do in that space. And so I gained some really good mentorship early on around self-awareness and, just kind of having situational awareness and not responding. And you can't always match energy in certain situations. So that was my first job. And By the age of 20, I was actually promoted into a team lead position. So I had direct reports, not knowing what I'm doing, Lauren, like not by a long shot. But again, he took this chance on me, mentored me along the way, became a sponsor for me in a lot of ways. And it taught me leadership skills that transferred into my home life as well as into my career development. So I will never forget the opportunity that he created for me, because it definitely was what spearheaded me into my HR career and like expanded my portfolio. Super grateful for that experience.
What do you think he saw in you? You know?
I'd like to think he saw the perseverance that's there, like problem solving, a lot of empathy, like quick to help people navigate, their own barriers and kind of tear those down. I believe that he saw all of those things in me, and that's what afforded him the opportunity to take a chance on me. I'll share with you a really funny story. So at one point, his competitor, which was a much larger company, actually poached me. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here with Lou and the rest of the gang. Like this is it for me." And he let me go. And at the time I was like in my feelings, like as much as I've done for this company, you're going to push me out the door. And it wasn't until a lot later in life that I was like, "Oh my God, I know what he was doing now." He was allowing me to spread my wings. He knew that I outgrew being with his organization, which was much smaller, limited growth. There probably wasn't much more he was going to be able to teach me, and allowed me to get fostered and cultivated in a larger company, learn how to navigate the boardroom, the corporate politics. So my gratefulness is not just for him letting me in, but it's also for pushing me out.
How much of what you do today with your employees, because there's a lot of them,
Mhm.
was inspired by him, how the way he treated you?
I would say a good deal of it. Like if I could throw percentages, probably 85%. Part of what I do in leadership, I always tell people, I'm here to have you steal my job from me. And if that's not something that you want, then we need to figure out how to develop you across. We're definitely not going down. The target is upward mobility. But if you're not interested in taking this job, then we need to figure out what we're developing you for. But I'm super passionate about helping people tap into their better selves, to find the courage to be a little bit better than what they were yesterday. While I'm doing that, I am like 100% certain that it's making me better as well. And a lot of that came through Lou's mentorship. So I'm forever grateful for that.
So following that up, how much is mentorship like key to what you do now? Because there is a lot of that.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I have mentees of my own. It keeps me strong. It makes me a better person, because I have to continually educate myself. So to be an inclusive mentor, there is no one size fit all approach. I have to get to know my mentees. I have to understand what makes them tick. So in order to do that, I have to constantly be in a space of learning and being a better person, for them and as well as for myself. I've not found a mentor here at American Airlines, but I do have a sponsor. His name is Captain Alan Johnson. He was rah-rahing me on for today. And he was a pilot, but now he's the senior vice president of our flight administration. So he has the line of sight and oversight over our pilots. And he's just an amazing servant leader. I am getting some mentorship from him informally, obviously, but he's more of an executive sponsor for me. So he's like the Erika cheerleader, kind of putting my name out there in rooms that I'm not in, and like helping build my credibility and get my street cred with American Airlines. But I am a huge advocate and proponent of mentorship and allowing yourself to be vulnerable and letting someone teach you, letting someone help you navigate. Life is life, and right now is not easy. And nobody told us it was going to be easy. And we're in a culture of hyper independence. Oh, I don't need anybody for anything. I can do this myself. And it's like, we were not designed to be that way, or would have just stopped with Adam. So we do need each other. So being social is healthy, and we need to be okay with being vulnerable and seeking out support. Like everybody has unique skills. There's something that makes Erika different from Lauren and vice versa, and it makes us stronger when we tap into that versus I don't need Lauren, I got this. So yeah. So that's the importance of mentorship to me. So yeah.
Yeah, I love the vulnerability part.
Mhm.
Did he volunteer for that, or is that actually a program at American?
So it's not a program. What happened was there was a little bit of baptism by fire. So when I started with America, it was such an interesting journey. They offered me a role that was different from the one that I took on. But when they offered me this role overseeing like HR for flight attendants, I was like, listen, I'm an HR practitioner. You throw me in the ring and I'm going to come out fighting. So let's do this. Well, one of my counterparts ended up leaving shortly after I got here. So then they needed someone to oversee both flight attendants, pilots, premium guest services, and catering. So my team did all of the HR support for those units. And in that taking place, I ended up developing this relationship with Captain Johnson. And after he got a new HR business partner, we remained connected. So this is just it's like the perfect example of we are always placed where we need to be, regardless of what your beliefs are. The universe has a way of playing chess with us, and we end up where we're supposed to be to gain, insights or make better choices or whatever, that thing is for you. You're naturally placed where you need to be. You just got to make the choice. Like, are you going to go left or are you going to go right? So yeah.
And it also plays up on one of the other things you said about always being ready.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You got to be ready. Like just stay ready. There's no getting ready. You just stay ready. Somebody just asked me, I'm sure you saw the headlines, American Airlines, like so many organizations that we're going through our right sizing. And my best friend was like, oh, darn, you just got to Texas. Are you worried? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, listen, I don't do worry because I'm not trying to look beyond my age. So I don't do worry. It's a little bit of vanity in me. But if you remain ready at all times, there's no need to get ready. My CV is always updated. My LinkedIn page is always updated. I have virtual coffees, chats with headhunters all the time, and I take conversations for organizations who are looking to poach me like every 3 or 4 months. Part of it, Lauren, is for career development because HR is a very, evolutionary industry. I need to make sure I'm not getting stale. So it gives me that practice, keeps my tools sharp in that space, but I'm also building relationships. So if American Airlines, I could end this conversation. They have me on the list and say, hey, Erika, you got to go. There are several conversations I'm prepared to have so that I will not be unemployed for long. So I don't worry about those things. If the journey was meant to just be 8 months or 9 months, it was still a good journey and I'll move on. I'm not worried about that. So yeah,
You have to stay agile and ready. Yeah. How
absolutely.
many how many people then are you working with? Like 100,000? I mean, you know what I mean? The HR you're responsible. Like, what's
Yep.
the number?
So there are 24,000 flight attendants. And then in the corporate administration, so those who are responsible for strategy administration in corporate for the flight attendants, there's a little over 2,000. So about 30,000 team members total that's within my span of care from an HR support perspective. I'm hugely honored that I'm tapped in quite a bit for enterprise-wide support, so initiatives that will apply to the entire organization. And I feel like that's a privilege to me because I've only been here for 8 months now, and for me to have gotten enough street cred to be tapped into to roll out projects and initiatives that will apply to all 150,000 of us, I deem that a huge honor. So yeah.
So how do you balance that with 7 kids? Did you say 9
Nine
grandchildren? Or am
grandchildren.
okay. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously that's now and they're older, but
Right.
as you're, coming up in your career, you have to find a way to balance all that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I've worked for IKEA, Aon, Wawa, now American Airlines. One thing that I will say, Lauren, is that I have been fortunate. I've worked for organizations that were hugely flexible before pandemic, and we really had to be hybrid or virtual. I've worked for organizations where work-life balance or integration, because you really can't balance work and life. Balance would indicate that the scales are even. That ain't happening. So you have to be okay with knowing that you have to integrate it somehow, and whatever that looks like for you. So part of it has been being fortunate to work for organizations that have that level of flexibility. And then the other part is like really running my life like a project manager. So the chore rotation amongst my children when they were younger. I was married, I'm divorced now, but who's going to have football this week? Who's going to have science club? Teaching my kids how to be self-sufficient. So they all know how to cook. Some of them do it very well, some of them not so much, but they can nourish themselves. And they had a lot of strong lessons from me. So much so they used to call me the warden when they were coming up. I think they still call me that every now and then. That level of structure, I hate to compare it to a prison, but prisons are structured. But that level of structure allowed me to have that integration with my personal life as well as my work life. And then I have 3 best friends, 2 of which I grew up with, and they are solid. I mean, solid. So if anything had ever happened to me in this life while my children were still younger, I wouldn't be worried anyway, because obviously I wouldn't be here, but, things would be in order. That's not something that I would ever, worry about. So having a strong connection with folks and a great collection of folks as well, because not everybody is meant to be, not everybody needs to be in your universe for whatever reason. So just having a solid network. And then, like I said, really running my household like a project manager. So the skills from work overlap into my personal life in a lot of ways.
So when we met at Grad Walk,
Mhm.
I asked you about a fabulous tattoo that
Oh,
you have,
yeah,
which
yes.
was following up our last conversation. It's all about family.
Oh, yeah,
So
for
do you
sure.
want to show folks your
Oh,
amazing tattoo?
absolutely, absolutely.
Because
So, yeah,
having
so
this talk family, we need to know about it.
for
It was
sure. So
it was
I'm
striking.
quite tatted up, but this is one of my main pieces. So it is a music bar. This is the first bar of Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix, which was to honor my father, who died about 20 years ago. And then the 3 flowers are for my 3 daughters. There are 4 stars for my 4 sons, each in their favorite colors. And then the butterfly really touches my heart because this is memorializing my auntie. She helped raise me. She was my mother's baby sister, but she helped my grandparents raise me. And then she passed away I'll never forget, it was actually 22 years ago. The same day I found out I was pregnant with the twins, she passed away. She had a diabetic stroke. And I'll never forget this day because she called me. Well, I called her and was like, I thought I had fibroid tumors. They told me that I'm having twins. What am I supposed to do? And she said, "You're going to do you and you're going to be just fine." And you have been and you still will. And that was our last conversation. So I'll never forget that. I'll never forget her. She plays such an instrumental part in my life. And I'll probably memorialize her a little bit more at some point, but I at least had to do something for her. So, yeah.
I love the strong family, concept with being a really successful person. Those
Hmm.
are sometimes don't always work. So
Oh,
yay.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But so a couple of years ago, you decided though to do something else, which was to go back and get a college degree
Oh,
because
yeah.
like you didn't have great jobs already, but what was that
Right.
about? What inspired you?
Oh, yeah. So there was a little bit of like vision board stuff happening there. I was trying to, find my zen and my spiritual self. And to your point, I felt really proud of the career that I had kickstarted and where I've gotten so far without the education. But I had to remind myself that I had a goal to get educated. And regardless of how far I've gotten in my career, it was meant for me to still attain that goal. University of Maryland has an amazing program, super, super flexible for the adult learner, and it caters to the curriculum caters to the adult learner, in my opinion. I had some ups and downs. So if you look at my track with with I was there steady, stopped for a long while, came back, but then the last couple of years, I just pep talk myself like, girl, it's time to stop playing. And you're going to get this degree. I think I shared with you like my my Chinese zodiac is the dragon, and 2024 was the year of the dragon. So I said, this is the year we got to kickstart it and just keep going. So that was part of it too, a little bit of my like astrology beliefs and stuff. But it was really around not allowing myself to think that I hit a goalpost. Like, oh, you have this amazing career. We hit the goal. You never really hit the goal. At least I don't. So as long as the goalpost keeps moving, there's something else that I need to do. Like even now, I'm thinking of what's next. Is it going to be law school? Is it going to be a master's degree in HR or organizational psychology? I don't know. It's going to be something, Lauren. We haven't decided what, but we know it's going to be something. So yeah.
Well, you could start small with like a certificate,
Oh yeah.
right?
So I have my SHRM certification, which is the Society of HR Management. I got that a couple of years ago as well. I'm also certified as a life coach and a spiritual coach and an executive coach. I'm going to get board certified in a couple of months, so I'm super super excited about that. And then I'm like an ordained minister from the Universal Life Church. So and that was spearheaded because it was kind of like a money making thing. Like I'll always find a hustle in something. And when we were in a tough political environment and people weren't supporting gay marriage, I was like, well, let me go get ordained. I'll marry people. Like, I'm all inclusive here. So yeah, so there's not much that I won't do or try to do. Like that's just who I am. So yeah.
Once again, you're listening to Erika Lane on Unstoppable Stories. If you want to hear more stories like Erika's, don't forget to like or subscribe. So following that up, like, tell me about where this all came from. I mean, you grew up in Baltimore, like you said, not a fabulous neighborhood. What was growing up in Baltimore like?
Oh my
What are your
goodness.
childhood memories? You know?
So when I lived with my grandparents, we actually lived closer to Morgan State University, like right off of Hill and Road. So very close to the county line, but still the city. So my neighborhood, I would say, was a really great neighborhood, like old school. Play until the street lights come on, hide and go seek with your friends. Your neighbors could discipline you if you showed off, like just your typical neighborhood. And like I said, I still have lifelong friends from that experience. Like everybody was your mom, everybody was your dad. So you could learn so much. Like the culture that we're in now with the everybody's minding their business. In some ways, I guess that's cool. In other ways, I would argue it's why we face some of the problems that we face in society. So this was definitely like the lemonade stand, snowball stand neighborhood. And I love it. Like I still go back, sometimes because I still have folks in the neighborhood that I visit. But then I moved to East Baltimore, which was a very different experience at Preston and Milton. And the best way I can tee it up, because people in Texas who've never been, they'll say they relate everything to The Wire, the show from HBO. Like, so was it really like that? And I'm like, it actually is. Like it literally is. And I still rewatch that show quite a bit, and it brings back memories like, oh my gosh, that's the Chinese food place I used to go to. But there's a certain sadness to it, Lauren, because it breaks my heart that The Wire was filmed 20 years ago. And the last time I was in the inner city, it doesn't look very different. So somebody has some work to do to take care of our city. So yeah, so there was a polarizing difference between growing up in Northeast and then living in East Baltimore. There was some things that I had to learn. And even my oldest children, they're street savvy because they had to be living in East Baltimore. My youngest three children, my career has skyrocketed. We lived in Overly, close to White Marsh. So they are green as a pool table when it comes to street smarts. They just don't have it. But it's a polarizing city, and it made my childhood, my early adulthood have polarizing experiences. But that's Baltimore. It's just annexed a certain way. You go 3 blocks over, people are jogging, having a good time, and then another 3 blocks is like, let me hurry up and get what I need to get and keep going. So it's unfortunate, we make light of it. Still a beautiful city. It will always have my heart. I don't know if I'll be going back anytime soon because Texas got me for now, but it's quite an experience. Baltimore is an experience. The city itself is an experience.
It's what made you.
Oh
So
yeah,
that, the fact
absolutely.
that you understand all those cultures.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that experience has played into my leadership as well. I have an ability to lead inclusively because of the relatability. So I can sit in the boardroom, but I can also mentor someone who dropped out from school, who grew up in the projects, who's not been exposed to a corporate position ever. And then they're trying to assimilate into this environment. So being able to give them a relatable mentoring experience and help them understand how to navigate corporate, how to break, ceilings and things like that, that puts people in positions that they did not think they would be in. They did not think they would come from certain areas, low socioeconomic environments, and be able to sit at the table with the CEO and have a conversation and speak, very eloquently about whatever topics they're bringing up. So that relatability is something that I would not take back. I love my Baltimore experience. I love my hometown. I wouldn't change it. If I could go back and like Marty McFly myself in the DeLorean, I would still come up through Baltimore.
I love that. But people, going back to what you said, people tend to self-limit.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, they go, oh,
absolutely.
this is my ceiling,
Yep.
and you need those people who go, no, that's not your ceiling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we all don't get that in this life. Like some of it is obviously what's innate, what's genetically, a part of who you are. But going back to what I said earlier, Lauren, we need people surrounding us that's going to cheerlead us on to tell us that there is no such thing as a ceiling. It doesn't matter, what you look like, who you are as a woman, if you're, who you worship, whatever. The only ceiling you create is the one that you create for yourself. Like tear out the hammer and bust that baby open. So, and it's not going to be easy. That's the thing. Like I think of something else. I think my grandfather might have said, like, opportunity is disguised as hard work. That's why some people don't, take advantage of it. Like it's not really going to knock on the door. I know people say opportunity knocks. No, it doesn't. You have to go out and get it, and then you got to put it in a chokehold and just, keep going. So you're waiting for like golden opportunities to find you, and that's not how life works. There's thousands, tens of thousands of other people that's out there grinding while you're waiting for it to knock. They're taking it. So yeah, so ceiling, we're not doing that. Like there's no ceilings. We're not doing that.
No ceilings, no
No,
ceilings.
no.
So how did you end up, you get off the plane or you drove to
Mhm.
Texas, first impressions, because it's not Baltimore.
Oh yeah. No, it's very different. So my grandparents are from the South, so I have a familiarity with Southern hospitality, and it's like nobody's business down here. So when you're from the city, you actually have to negotiate your trust meter a little bit. So when you're in the store, somebody's trying to help you, like, what you touching my stuff for? Like, what you doing? But that's the Southern charm. So there's a part of me that I have to assimilate to the culture here because coming from the city, it's like somebody touching your stuff. That's not a thing. We don't do that. But here's like, oh no, I saw that the bags were heavy and you're by yourself. I want to make sure you're okay. So that Southern charm is a real thing. I have to navigate my trust issues and open myself up to embracing a little bit more of that. The music, the food, the people. I mean, this is the Bible Belt, it's the Sun Belt. So depending on your beliefs, you actually have to negotiate how you come across in conversation. But I always tell people I'm always middle ground in the sense that I value people's opinions even when they're not my own. And I'm not about to spend time going back and forth with anybody. I strongly believe that, it's okay for us to think differently with respect, but we spend too much time trying to change other people. That's where the bickering and the divisiveness comes in. And I'm not doing that.
And you have your cowboy boots, right?
Oh yeah. So I think I was born with cowboy boots on, Lauren. So I already were donning them before I got down here. So it's just much more variety since I've been here. So yeah. And wearing them in the office is a norm. So that's a corporate thing I had to get used to. Like for me, cowboy boots was like, okay, that's business casual day. But here's like people have on a full suit that looks tailor made with the cowboy boots. So I said, I can get with this. So yeah. So, and it's a cowboy culture. I learned that too, that there's certain respect that you have to put on the cowboy hat. Like it can't be placed a certain way. People shouldn't touch somebody else's hat. It's a whole thing. I'm still learning. So, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh yeah.
Don't
Don't
touch my
touch
hat.
somebody's cowboy hat.
You've achieved so many things. What's next, or what's the ceiling? Where are
Oh
you
yeah.
going?
So I did take the LSAT about 6 weeks ago, I think. Might have been a little bit longer than that. I had a score in my mind that I wanted, and I did not achieve that score. However, I achieved higher than average, but that's not good enough to me. So I'm going to take it again in February so that I can aim for my score. And honestly, Lauren, I may or may not go to law school after that, but I know that that's the first step. So, in order for me to at least start entertaining the idea of law school, I need to take that first step. So, that is one thing that's on the table. The other thing is maybe getting my master's in organizational psychology. But, we'll see. I'm not going to limit myself to anything. The law school journey, that step is already in motion because I've registered to take the exam again. But we'll see, what happens. What I can guarantee is that I won't stop. What next will look like, that's up for grabs. We'll see what the economy is looking like next year and what resources are available and, how I plan that out and map that out because I'm also not going to stretch myself so thin that I can't travel, that I can't do my self-care routines. All of that has to be a part of the plan. Nothing is worth giving up my peace of mind. So we'll have to map it out based on how do I still have that integration we talked about earlier while still staying curious and on this continuous learning journey.
Obviously, though, HR is your thing,
Oh
like
yeah,
something
no
that
doubt.
you've done for 30 years.
Yeah,
Would that be?
27-ish, 28.
You
Yep.
said, what is it that appeals to you? Why have you been doing it this long? What do you wake up like every morning going, yes?
Yeah, you know what? So that's going to sound like super corny in a way, but I truly do. And I would not do it if I did not have that feeling. So when you think about the work that you do in this life, no matter what, we all have 24 hours in a day. That's the one thing we all have. No matter what else we believe in or disagree about, that's what we all have. And when you look at it mathematically, because I love math, you can try to break your life up into thirds. Your job is always winning. So when I look at a third of my life for me, a third of my life for my family, it's really not thirds because I'm spending at least 8 to 10 hours at work plus my drive time. So my job is always winning and getting more of the pie, no matter how we look at it. So because of that, I have to absolutely love it at least 85% of the time. And if I ever see that number declining, then we need to start revisiting, like maybe there's something else I need to consider doing, or I need to consider another organization. But because our jobs naturally take so much from us, and it's just the design of it, you need to love it, or you need to love great portions of it, and figure out, what that needs to be for you. Like each one of us need to do that. I wanted to be a lawyer when I was a little girl, and HR has a natural tie to lawyering. But what I tell people when I coach them is when you think back to what you wanted to be when, like, what did I want to be when I grow up? I'm still growing up. Think about what that job does to serve. Because even though I'm not a lawyer, I still serve people in the same capacity. I'm helping them solve problems. I'm helping them navigate through very personal situations and moments that matter for them. And I look at it a little bit more deeply than that. I think a lot of HR practitioners do, not just Erika, but I'm helping not just Lauren, but Lauren's children. If she has an aging parent at home, or if she's caretaking for a family member or someone with a disability. So Lauren is showing up to work and I'm helping her navigate that, but I am indirectly supporting everything that is in her span of care. So if you don't look at HR like that, you probably should look at a different profession. It's not easy because peopling never is. But I have an innate love for it because it's not just about the art of human resources, or I should say the science of human resources, there is an art to it as well, which is all about people and engagement and social ability.
And obviously, you are very good at it. I mean, even from the minister point of view, I totally get it.
Right.
But I have to imagine at some point you walked into some rooms where you were the only person of color
Oh
or the
yeah.
only woman of color.
Hmm.
I mean, how did you sort of navigate that? And what would you give as advice to someone else also in whatever minority coming into
Absolutely.
space?
Absolutely. What I will tell people is there are multiple definitions of ignorance. So we can walk away thinking that a person's ignorance is because their beliefs are so, divided, or they're so deeply rooted on a certain side of the fence that they just don't want to understand you. And I personally believe that almost all of us have the greatest of intentions. Ignorance is also a lack of understanding. And when you get in that room and you're the only one who looks like you, open yourself up to allowing people to understand, because they're may have limited experiences with a woman of color. So they are actually feeling a little antsy about me sitting in the room. So I open myself up to people. I allow them to ask me questions. I learn more about them as well, and allow our differences to make us stronger, not divide us. So it takes, a little bit of that burden has to be on me sometimes, to open myself up, to be transparent, to be okay with the questions, even though sometimes they are very wacky, like, where did you dream this stuff up? But I have to acknowledge that based on where your journey looked like, because I didn't walk your journey, that question makes a lot of sense to you, because perhaps you have never surrounded yourself or had the opportunity to surround yourself with people who are uniquely different. And it's okay. I'm an open book. So you can ask me anything and I'm going to give you the truth as long as you're ready to hear it and you can handle it. So, yeah.
I love that. You were the first of your kids to graduate. You were the first in your family to
Yes.
graduate college.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. How did that feel? I mean, and what message were you sending?
Oh, yeah. So, first of all, the grad walk was a whole vibe for me, because with me getting my GED, I never walked across the stage. So, that was just like everything. That's why, like, you joke about the white jumpsuit and all that. I said, I got to step out here fierce. Like, I got to represent. So, I just can't let go, like, what the grad walk moment meant for me. I'm gonna send you a picture. I actually blew my degree up to like wall size because I was so excited about it. So I'll send you a picture of it. But the grad walk part of it was just like a big, big deal. My grandparents did not go to college. Neither of my parents, my cousins, that just wasn't our walk. We were like a blue collar family. So because of that, it was super, super exciting. It was even more meaningful because I'm super competitive, and my kids, who are kind of off and on in college as well, I finished before three of them. So we kind of had like a little bit of a healthy competition about that. So there was that as well. But I think the biggest thing that I would say to anyone, in a very similar space, is you have to decide what is for you. That's first and foremost. Maybe college isn't for everybody. I don't know. I'm not about to sit here and make that judgment call. But whatever that path is that you need to make for yourself, you have to decide what that's going to be, and you have to own it. You can't say, oh, my parents abandoned me, so I can't do this. Oh, I was raised by my grandparents, so I can't do this. I was a teen mother and then I dropped out, so I can't do this. Everything in life is a choice. And when you get to the crossroads, you can either go left or you could go right. But you have to own the choice, and you have to own the consequences of that choice. So when you think about what's next for you, whether it's college, whether it's, a certification, a trade, whatever those things are, it's a career move, whatever. When you decide what your brand is going to be and how you're going to represent the commercial that is you, you have to decide what those choices are going to be and think about the consequences of each of those actions, bad or good. So we got to get away from it's because of. No, you have to do it in spite of, and just keep going. There's no time to focus on what happened back then. So yeah.
That's a great end. And your commercial would be fascinating to make. So, Erika, thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
We loved having you share your story with us because it's fabulous.
Thank
And for
you.
anybody listening or watching, please remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more unstoppable stories. You can even catch up on some of our past season or episodes this year on your preferred podcast channel. Thanks again, Erika.
Thank you.
Fabulous. And see everyone next time.